right, so I got a handful of questions. For those viewers who may not fully comprehend the responsibility of a director, do you just want to walk through kind of what all it entails with this film, what you did?
Well, so I co-wrote and directed the film. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that you have to do in order to get to the point of actually being a director. And it's a long. I have a very long story to that. I started in editorial back in 2011. I worked on my first movie after making the transition from being a set PA. I'd worked at American Idol and So You Think You Could Dance and on a bunch of music videos. And then ultimately, the production designer who did the Daniels movies that have been very successful the past couple years.
Yeah,
I worked on a music video with him, and this was way before like either of us had done big projects yet. And
sure.
so he was like, you need to get out of the PA role. Whatever you need to do, you need to get out of that, because if you stay in that too long, you're gonna get pegged as that.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, I got to get out of this. So I saw an opportunity in editorial. I took it. I was basically doing like dailies, like syncing dailies in editorial. Um, and it was a small editorial, so I got to know the editor, the assistant editor, and the director of the movie, because it was a very micro budget kind of movie called Stuck in Love, which
yeah,
is actually very successful on Netflix after it was released. And getting to know those guys and how to create a story was vital towards my directing, like knowing what I need in editorial. Working in editorial for a number of years allows you to kind of know what you need when you're on set.
yeah,
So it's a directing is a job that is a hybrid of many jobs. You have to know departments. You have to know a lot of information, because it's your job to make the decisions for what's best for the story. And if you don't have enough information, then how can you make the best decision for the story? So I went to school for cinematography. I took a job in editorial, um, and I've always wanted to be a director. And that's one of those things that, like, if you tell people that you want to be a director, then people kind of label you as, oh, this guy wants to be a director, and then they kind of brush you off. So I kind of like kept that to myself a little bit and just absorbed information,
sure.
as much information as I possibly could. And then the opportunity came when uh, Josh Boone, who directed Stuck in Love and also The Fault in Our Stars,
Yeah,
we were having dinner, and he said, I've had this idea. We were talking about music, and he said, I've had this idea that's been kicking around in my head for a very long time, but I haven't been able to fix it. And he's presented me with the idea, and he said, hey, what if you can fix this, you can go direct it. And so that was back in like 2011.
oh wow,
So it takes a long time to to get from point A to point B in this industry, and it can also happen in an instant, because that's also what happened with the movie. We were going out to talent, and then Clara attached herself, and then we found a financier, and then we found our Harrison,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden we're deciding locations, and Hawaii comes up on the list, and I'm like, we have to go there. So we ended up shooting there, and it was a 26-day shoot. It was a lot of fun. I literally I think about going back, very much like that Lost meme.
Sure.
We have to go
We have to
back.
go
Like I say
back.
that I say that to James, my co-writer, all the time. We have to go back. So yeah, I mean, overall, it was a fantastic experience, and having to go back to your original question, being a director, it takes a lot, but then also if you're informed on what the story is and you know what the story is supposed to be,
Yeah,
it's a very easy job. as long as you know it. Like if you know what the story is supposed to mean and what it's about and what the characters are, and you know you know your job becomes a lot easier
Sure.
because knowledge is power. So
Yeah. You know, you brought up Claire Rugard, and so she has credits on a few sci-fi projects and dramas. Had you seen any of those
yeah,
before she attached, or how big did that factor in?
so we well, I mean, one of the things that I saw before, I think the one deciding factor that influenced, like, besides meeting her and getting to know her a little bit, was I Am Mother,
Mm,
and it showed that she had this ability to be a bigger star than the projects that she had done previously to I Am Mother. You know, those all, you know, we all try to get to the biggest project possible. She's got Spielberg like like in her veins. Like I feel like she understands like a Disney story, a big blockbuster film. And when I talked to her on Skype after seeing I Am Mother, um, like I was talking to her about her character, and you know there was just like these sparks that just kept coming up in her eyes, like whenever I would, you know, explain like the reasoning behind why her character would do something, and she just knew it. And like that to me said, all right, we found our Laura.
yeah,
She's an amazing actress, and I think she's very underutilized by big name directors right now. I think she deserves to be given a larger role. She's that good,
yeah,
and she's very easy to work with too. Um, you know, we had a lot of fun on set. You know, that it's part of why my job was so easy, was because she knew what she needed to know to bring the part alive. So
yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with you. She was phenomenal. You know, and I mean, it's alongside Lewis Pullman, who you said after you'd found your Harrison. I mean, those two were great together, especially in the flashback
yeah,
scenes. I mean, you
yeah,
also had veteran actor Danny Glover. You had just this big kind of not necessarily large ensemble cast, but you know, 4 or 5 people that just spend a lot of time with each other. So you guys had
yeah.
a lot of fun on set. Sounds like, especially in Hawaii.
Yeah, I mean, it was literally, I don't, this sounds very cliche, but it was like nonstop fun. Like I didn't stop hanging out with people during, you know, the off days. I would go and hang out with them. You
Yeah,
know, it's also the job of the director to know the headspace of what your actors are, and, you know, being close to them, making sure that you know, who they are. It informs you, you know, it lets you be able to make the right decisions and understand what they like and what they're going to bring to the table once the workday starts on a Monday. Um, but yeah, it was it was surreal having you know, so many different names with with this movie, because you know I grew up. Most people grew up watching Danny Glover in, you know, Lethal Weapon. Like I'm
sure.
getting too old for this shit, you know. But I grew up watching him in films like Dumbo Drop
Yeah,
and Angels in the
I
Outfield,
was about to say
you
yeah,
know? And I think that that's probably why he saw this movie, or read this script and saw the potential for a movie that, you know, teaches, you know, a life lesson.
yeah,
You know, that was, you know, I think the most important thing when it came to this movie was making sure that there's, you know, an ability to entertain, but also to teach as well, because I think that's what most entertainment should do, rather than, you know, melt our brains into mush.
yeah,
It makes a more worthwhile story as well. Like if you care about it and, you know, you invest in the characters and you hope that they grow, then that means that you're wanting to grow yourself, and you know maybe you'll do that as well.
yeah. Um, was so you've already said it was filmed in Hawaii. Was it all filmed on set? Did you guys have to go to a soundstage or anything at all, or do you just
Nope, it's
100% out there?
all 100% shot in Hawaii on Oahu. We shot all over the North Shore, a little bit towards the southeast of the island, as well as the northeast of the island. Um, you know, it was or northwest. I'm sorry, northwest of the island. Um, it was a fun time, like being able to go to all these locations. There's scene, the cliff scene, the
Hmm.
one that's on the car,
Sure.
where the earthquake happens. My DP Luca, we discussed that scene at length prior to shooting, because it was going to be a very complicated, short amount of time that we had to be able to film, 2 scenes.
Sure.
And we had that scheduled back to back days, and knowing that the sun disappears rather quickly towards the end of the day and on the horizon, we knew that we had about maybe 20 minutes for
Yeah.
each scene, and it was a 2 camera scene, and we shot the hell out of it. We
Yeah.
shot, we got, I think we did like maybe 3 or 4 takes.
Wow.
um and each time you would have to do, another side. You'd have to do make sure that your coverage was, you had the coverage. And so it was a challenge, but Luca and his guys pulled that off. Guys and girls pulled that off. Like, it was such a, I mean, we looked at each other at the end of that and we're like, hell yeah, this is filmmaking. We got it and knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. No, you really did, especially that second scene being such a pivotal moment where she convinces Harrison that she's time traveling. That would have been real unfortunate if you weren't able to make that work. So hats off, Luca. Well done. So there's a couple, shots, mostly establishing shots, but that are filmed out in the ocean. What are some of the challenges you found with open waves and all the battling nature out there?
Well, there's we happen to film at a time where they usually do the World Surf League.
Really?
And so it was just on the cusp of being really gnarly waves. And I got to experience a little bit of that, because as soon as we were done filming, um, Brian, our water safety, he is a king of the island. Like, the guy commutes to work via jet ski. He's an amazing guy. His guys took me out into the waves, and on the day that we were filming like water entries and exits, we also filmed a little bit of the like Laura and Harrison on their surfboards just looking at each other, as
Yeah.
well as Laura looking at the by herself.
Sure.
We filmed that on that day, and as soon as we wrapped shooting that stuff, they took me out on a jet ski further, and it felt like, I've never experienced larger waves. It was like 30-foot waves,
Wow.
and they were like houses. Like, you'd be, in this gully, in this in the swell. You would get to the top of it, and then you'd go down, and then all of a sudden there'd be another giant wave behind it, just waiting, and you'd have to run from that wave on the jet ski. It was insane. Like, our ancestors going across the ocean, I cannot imagine doing that. So they must have been so brave.
Yeah. Yeah, at least they had bigger ships than just the jet ski, though, right? That'd have been.
That's true.
They
But I
might have.
mean,
Hey, they
I
might have
don't
made it
know.
faster. We don't know. They might have had jet skis. Sorry, I think I skipped a question. I did. So that was first 20 minutes or so where you're showing the love story is pretty fast paced. Was that intentional? Was there intention behind the fast pace, or was it like were there time constraints that you guys were worried about? Talk me through that first kind of act.
Well, so we had to choose between, when we wrote the story, there's a lot more content that was in the beginning part.
Yeah.
And we got hit by COVID in editorial. Like, we were about to test like my director's cut, and then we had to close editorial because the pandemic hit. And so we kind of were flying blind a little bit, and so we didn't get to test the movie and see what an audience would think.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the feedback that we had you know to take into consideration was from peers and other directors and people who make movies.
Sure.
And so we did find that there was a consensus to shorten as much time in the beginning to get to his death,
Hmm.
but there was definitely content that I wish that we still had in the beginning, because I do think that pacing wise it could have been a little bit better in the beginning to just match what it is for the rest of the film.
Right.
But filmmaking is about compromise and making sure that the story stays true to what it is. And so you have to make concessions to a certain degree when you're making films.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No,
that's my
absolutely.
first one. That's my
Hey,
first one.
and it wasn't a
So
bad one either. So I mean, there's hopefully your next go round you get an extra. We don't have a global pandemic that really
I you
alters the
know I
effect for you.
I don't know. I feel like maybe every time we make a movie, we should have a pandemic. Maybe that'll be it.
Just same level of success. If they're always as good as this one, then
It can
hey.
only get better from here.
um, so a lot happens post Harrison's death. That with the 4 year time jump, it seems like Chloe and Laura aren't as close as they were. Chloe's having trouble painting. Not Chloe, excuse me. Laura's having trouble painting. Chloe and Harrison's parents break up. Is there anything else, head canon wise for you that happens?
Hmm. Well, I mean, Laura definitely is stuck on the past
Sure.
at that point. There's kind of a thing that happens with grief that isn't talked about very much, and you get stuck. You get stuck in this feeling of, what do I do now?
Hmm.
And you can have some good days, and then all of a sudden it goes back to not being good. So I feel like Laura probably experienced quite a bit of grief in losing Harrison, but she obviously had needs and stuff.
Yeah.
And we can't ignore those types of things. But then at the end of the day, like, it just defaults back to having that absence. Like, she didn't have closure from losing Harrison. She literally was ready to make the B side of the mixtape with him, and then he was taken away from her prematurely.
Yeah.
And there's a lesson to be had that Cooper gives her when she gets to experience it for the second time, is that we don't get to know, like, how much time we have, and we should cherish all the time that we do have with someone, rather than trying to make something of that time that, like, should, like, I think her reaction to wanting to save him, knowing that he's alive in some universe, her wanting to save him, I think that's something that we all would want to do.
Hmm. Absolutely.
um it's a level of control, and if we think that we have that control, then we're going to be very disappointed when it turns out that we don't. um so I think that was, I kind of answered your question, but I kind of drifted a little bit.
No, I mean that would have, yeah, no, that is a perfectly fine answer. I mean, it brings us back around, and we were talking before we hit record that had it ended with the final song on the A side and her just
Yeah.
letting him go and everything, that would have been a perfectly fine ending, a great ending, one that other movies have done, and then
Yeah.
flipping it over to the B side and kind of just hitting a reset on the whole movie was kind of cathartic for us as an audience to get to see, hey, yeah, she
I'm glad
fully
that you
let
think
go.
that way.
I
Yeah.
did, yeah.
I'm glad that you feel that way, because that was the major intent that we had. Like, James and I, when we were writing it, we were like, you can't end it on a note that, because I said earlier that filmmaking, in my opinion, and storytelling should be about growth
Yeah.
and entertainment. And one of the things that is vital to growth is positive reinforcement. Having her go through all of that, and then realizing that there's this opportunity to maybe save him again.
Yeah.
go back to the beginning and reset. And then she's grown as a person. She realizes that maybe maybe I should listen to what Cooper said.
Yeah.
And then from there, she gets rewarded for that.
Yeah.
Harrison's alive.
Harrison's alive, and she'll never know. She'll never know that she gave up that 4 year, that life period that she already had. So it's it is a complete and utter loss of control for her, but it worked out. So I really thought it. I thought it was great.
Well, here's a question for you.
Yes.
Do you think that she knew at the end of the film?
Or
do you think that she didn't know?
I'm on the side of I definitely think it was kind of left open a little bit. I'm on the side of I don't think she knew, just because she never had the relationship with him, and previously, whenever she had gone in the past, it had always been, I know him, and I know my mission is to save him. And in my headcanon, when she completely erased their relationship, she completely erased all memory of him. That's my headcanon. That's what I choose to believe. Why is it different?
No, I'd be curious to hear what other people think, because it's definitely something that has been discussed.
Has it?
When we did a screening of it, we asked the same question, and there were a few people who said both sides. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting.
I think we see it from a perspective that we want to see it.
Sure.
So,
I definitely, most of my life has gone through with rose-colored glasses. So you know what? If it's the other way around, Greg, I reject your reality and substitute my own, because I like mine. I like my answer. Is there a reason, story-wise? I mean, obviously we know, she goes back in the past and she changes a few things. Is there a reason why Chloe keeps ending up with the a-hole every time until like the B-side happens? Is there a reason for that?
well, I mean, Laura's very much into her own journey and trying to fix what she hurt originally, or trying to undo Harrison's death. And so there's kind of almost a, I wouldn't say like a slightly narcissistic approach to it. She's hurt her friend.
Yeah.
And she hasn't really realized, her actions hurt others until, the end, when Cooper kind of guides her and says some wise things. And so I don't think that she recognized that she was hurting her friend until she saw Chloe. And then even then, she completely ignores, how Chloe's feeling.
Yeah.
What her reality is. And it's kind of it's putting blinders on, trying to power through something that she still thinks that she can control. And she also thinks that if she can fix that, then everything else will be fine. So obviously, there's a horrible wake to that, where Chloe is being almost secondary.
Sure.
Like it's a terrible friendship right there.
Yeah. So. Terrible friendship leading to just the worst romantic relationship that I think Chloe could have gone with too. I mean, he shows up in that old jalopy, and you just kind of want to smack him right out of it to begin with, and then it's like, oh God, she married him. Oh no. He was not a likable character. So kudos to him. I always like that. Everyone's like, I hate this person. Like, I had a friend one time when the third Dark Knight movie came out, Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight movie. He was like, I hate Bane. I'm like, you're supposed to. That's how you know he's a good character. It's when you hate him.
Luke, who plays Brett in the movie, is such a kind person too, because it's so funny, because like I feel like you almost need to be on the receiving end of someone treating you like an asshole in order to really understand what an asshole is.
Yeah.
And so you kind of like, you take that and then you can reverse it, engineer it into your own version of an asshole. And Luke did an amazing job.
Yeah.
Like, he's nothing like his character at all.
Oh, good. That's nice to hear. That's nice to know. Yeah. I'd hate for that to be the case. So you've already kind of talked about, some things ended up on the cutting room floor, cut for time, other content that you just didn't get to do it. Is there one specific thing, if you had perfect conditions, you'd make sure made it in?
Well, I mean, so first of all, we did shoot because we were asked to shoot. We shot 4 different endings. The one ending that we ended up with is the one that I wanted it
Good.
to be. And I guess in the shortened like section of the front of the film, I would want to put back a couple things in like the meet cute, just to like give a little bit more, I guess, volume to their relationship. A little
Sure.
bit more banter would have been good.
Yeah.
Because we cut a little bit of that for time. Um, but other than that, the movie is, what I wanted it to be, which is great.
Yeah.
There's it's a warm romance of hope and promise, and you know a good ending. I was told, just from observing and working with an editor, Rob Sullivan, for a number of years. uh, there were 2 things that he told me. He said if it sounds good, it looks good. And the other thing was, if you leave the audience with a good taste in their mouth, then they'll like the movie. And
Yeah.
that was part of the goals for this one, making sure that both of those things were true.
Yeah.
So
I think you hit it. I think you did it. I think you did a great job. And what's next for you? What do you got? What do you got coming down the pipeline? Anything you're working
what's
on?
next for me? Well, I've been talking to James a little bit about what this would look like as a sequel. We're still discussing it. Uh,
Interesting.
yeah, when a sequel comes up, you kind of almost give it a little bit of a pause in terms of like hesitation. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, like you're gonna reopen that wound. Like, how are you gonna do that without making it a terrible disaster? Is this just a money grab? Like, I don't know. But we like that's on our mind. Like, that is like something that I've thought about. It's like, how do you do this but do it tastefully and well done,
Yeah.
so that the characters have room for growth still. So we've been talking about that a little bit. There's a thriller that I was writing with a buddy for a little bit that we've kind of put on the shelf for a little bit because he's a busy guy.
Sure.
I've been pretty busy, so that I might return to soon. Um, and then just I've been reading stuff. I just read this book, Diary of a Void, which the financier of my first movie, of Press Play, said, I love this book. You should check it out.
Interesting.
I think they're trying to acquire the rights to it right now, so hopefully there's an opportunity
Yeah.
to direct something there. But yeah, I'm looking for the right project, I think, because that's the most important thing. I think I can't just accept something for the sake of
Sure.
accepting it. I think I need to find something that speaks to me and can round my career in the way that I want it to. So still looking currently.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't think you can do I don't know if you'll be able to surpass Press Play. I sincerely hope you do, but I enjoyed this movie immensely. We had it
Well, thank you.
for a couple days. My wife didn't get to watch it with me the first time, so we went back and watched it the next night, and
Oh, what did she think?
she liked it. She liked it for the
Yeah.
kind of the same things, and because it's me and I make her go to all the action and thriller movies and everything, so she hadn't seen a romantic drama in a while either. So she was like, "Oh, this is a nice change of pace." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, enjoy it. It'll
That's
be the
good.
first one.
That's
It'll
good.
be the last one for a while." No, I'm just kidding. Um,
Until Press Play 2.
until Press
whenever I
Play
do get
2,
some.
and then when the thriller that you're talking about comes out, I'll have to go make her watch a thriller, which she's not a huge fan of. So I'm like, yes, excellent. I get to torture my Greg. If you can help me torture my wife just a little bit, I'd really appreciate it with
Yeah,
that
I
thriller.
can probably do that. I think one of the things that we had, James and I, when we were writing it, one of the things that we had on our board as a goal was give a satisfying ending, um, and also make girls cry.
Make
those were our
girls cry.
two. Those were our two. Well, make people cry in general, but those were the two goals for the project.
Yeah. Well, I think it was able to do that. I mean, and Clara and Lewis, especially in that ending scene, the second scene at the bowling alley, were phenomenal in making you feel exactly what they wanted you to make. Exactly what they wanted you to feel. So
on that note, like I think it was very important to me that was a oneer, because that was going to be raw emotion. There was going to be no reason to cut away from that. It was all about them and letting them perform and give it their all. And we did, I believe we did 12 takes of that particular scene. And we also scrapped like doing some additional coverage for it, because I was so keen on having that be a oneer.
Yeah.
And they brought it, and it was I forget what take it is that we used, but I remember being like, when I saw it, I was like, this is the one. We got it.
That's excellent.
It was, yeah. They brought it. Both of them were incredible, and the chemistry just shows on screen.
They did. And it helps with the soundtrack is so great too. Why those specific songs? Now that I'm thinking about it, did you just know those songs, or did someone pitch them to you, or what was that? What was your preference there?
So when we were writing the thing, we kind of realized that we needed to pick songs that were going to be utilized for different reasons in the script.
Yeah.
For instance, I think the Father John Misty cover of the Flaming Lips, that song was there in the script from a very early stage. I remember finding the YouTube video, and it was a song that he recorded in like a Tiny Desk concert or something, and it was only on YouTube. I couldn't find it any other platform. And then as we went towards making the thing, talking with my music supervisor Season Kent and Leah Harrison, they both were like, oh, this is a great song, let's check in on this. And I think they learned that he didn't really like the song, and that's why it was never released.
Interesting.
But it worked for our scene.
Yeah. So it's like, we don't care. We don't care. It works. We need it.
Yeah. So I mean, we did put time and effort into finding what songs worked, what people would put on a playlist, because like you wouldn't put like a Nelly song next to, I don't know, like an Iron and Wine song. You wouldn't do that. So there was a need to find specific songs and a specific arc to a playlist that they would give each other. So that in itself was a challenge. Putting that in time travel was a challenge. Making sure that the scenes themselves were similar in length between the first and the second version of the scenes, that was a challenge. And that would have to relate to the song length. So it was there, I believe of the playlist that we have, I believe we definitely made changes to what songs are on their track listing, but I do know for a fact that we had at least 3, if not 4 songs in the movie scripted completely. So it was about filling out the other songs, making sure that the rest of them worked with those, because those were like the hero songs that we thought, okay, this is perfect. This is a perfect mood for this scene. And for instance, the song that that Cooper plays in the record store for Laura, talking about his wife, that one was scripted. I went into shooting that with Danny, and I played him that song on my phone. I gave him some headphones, and then I let him listen to the song. And we were kind of crunched for time that day, and I let him listen to it once, and I was like, are you good? And he was like, one more time. And then he listened to it again. As he's listening to it, my AD Chris is looking at me, and he's like, time. We gotta go. And then he finishes listening to it, and he's like, all right, one more time. So I listened to it 3 times before we filmed. And I think that aided in his performance. He knocked it out of the park. It
He
was
did.
an incredible performance in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, Danny Glover does a great job. I mean, we know Danny Glover's the reason why he's a veteran. He's been around for a long time because he can hit those. And I mean, Lyrica.
He's also an amazing person too. He's
that's
a
great.
quality human being. He's one of those people that you can meet, like if he's your hero, and you'll feel good about that.
That's good.
He is who he is.
He's not the Colonel from Shooter, the one who's trying to get Mark Wahlberg killed the whole time. That's good.
He's not that guy.
That's great. Yeah, I mean his performance is great. Lyrica O'Connell gives a strong supporting effort. I'd never seen her. I think I'd seen everyone in this movie in something except for Lyrica O'Connell. And she was great. Yeah. She was fantastic.
That perfect performance that balanced the need for seriousness and humor.
Yeah.
She brought like that the hidden kind of like if you're baking, like it's that hidden ingredient that you don't realize is there until it's not there.
Yeah.
So she brought like something that really it made the dish flavorful.
Yeah.
Such a weird comparison.
We're just gonna go power right past it. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for me and my questions. Do you have anything you want to add? Anything that you felt like people would want to know?
There is a small Easter egg in the movie.
Okay.
It is in the record store when they're first meeting each other. Harrison puts his hand onto a pole. There's a sticker of our first camera, our A camera operator, that I took, and then our art department printed it out and then placed it on that pole. So Dennis is forever in the movie because of that. So.
Did he ever see it?
He did. He was filming that particular scene,
excellent.
so he definitely saw it. So,
be fun if you hear
the little Easter egg.
You hear a soundtrack later on, deleted scenes or something, and you just hear him snickering in the background. That'd be a nice add-on. All right, sir. Well, hey, I appreciate the time. This was so fun. This was fun. I look forward to seeing what comes next. And but for now, I will let you go. I appreciate it. I could not appreciate it more. So you have a wonderful evening, and thank you again. I don't know how else to end it.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Perfect.
That.
Cool.